The Los Angeles Rams have waived veteran wide receiver DeSean Jackson. He gets his wish. He's no longer with the team. What does this mean for the Rams? Could they find a way to replace him? How are they going to find a player to step up in his absence? Well, find out on this episode of the Locked On Rams podcast.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rams Nation, what is going on? As always, it is your boy, your host, Sosa Kremenjas. I'm a fantasy analyst at PFF and your host here at the Locked On Rams podcast, your number one daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Rams and part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you guys for always making us your first daily listen here at Locked On Rams. And for those that listened to yesterday's episode, you already know what today entails. My man, the legend, Brad Motter, back online with me here, which is nice, Brad, because now we're kind of making up for that last week or 2 weeks ago when we didn't get you on. It's a back-to-back here. Of course, we covered all the Von Miller news, and that stuff's never going to get old. Not for me, not for you. I'm pretty sure we're both still thinking about it, but we've got a lot to talk about on this episode. Of course, we're going to dive into the most recent news. The Rams waived DeSean Jackson, what this means for him, the Rams in general. We kind of talked off air. Do they have a replacement now for this guy at wide receiver 4? And then we'll turn the page and start looking at the Rams and the Titans matchup. That's in your neck of the woods, pal. But before we get there, my friend, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. And like you said, man, we're going to back. I got those Drake vibes, want to come on here every day and catching up for some of those missed days. So exciting to do this. And especially when we're talking about a 7-1 football club right now that just got better, even though we have a few minuses that you kind of mentioned there. But stoked to be here again, stoked to be talking about the Rams. And every time I come on and talk, I look to the calendar and go, how many more days till Rams football? It's a Sunday night game, so we've got to wait the whole slate for our game. But hey, we're in the prime time, we're under the lights, and there's going to be a lot of storylines and talking during that game, so it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain about that. I mean, it sucks for me, especially because I got to work after the games are done for PFF and then for this podcast as well. So I'm putting in late night shifts when it comes to playing that late, but it's all right. Love Sunday Night Football. You can't complain about it. Now we can dive into some of the biggest news here. And of course, we talked about it. DeSean Jackson waived by the Los Angeles Rams. We knew that it was likely going to come to this end result here. They couldn't find a trade partner. Not exactly surprised. Teams knew that the Rams were probably going to release him. So that's how it's turned out to be. But aside, they've also done a few more transactional moves. They waived defensive lineman Jonah Williams. Darius Williams, he's now coming back off of short-term IR. That's good news for our guy, D. Will. Don't know if he's going to suit up this week or not, but it is good that he's back. And then Travon Howard, the linebacker, is going to short-term IR. I'm not exactly sure what he hurt. It might have been a hamstring or something along those lines. Not exactly major. So not the worst news, not the best news either, though. So the biggest news, we got to touch on it. DeSean Jackson, he gets his wish. He's gone. He's now on the waiver wire. And this is unfortunate for him, too. I mean, he has to clear waivers. So if the Jacksonville Jaguars put in a waiver claim, he's going to go play for the Jaguars. And this might be the last 10 games of his career, last 9 games, whatever. And I'm pretty sure that guy does not want to go out playing for a team like that. Now, if somebody claims him, they will pay the remainder of his salary this year, which I think is around $1.5 million. If nobody claims him, the Rams will pay it, and then he's free to ultimately go wherever he wants. But Brad, this guy, it's been a weird tenure, right? We all talked about offseason. He's a great talent, one of the greatest deep threat receivers ever. He's super fast. He's still got it. We know he's still got it. We saw it. What do you kind of make of his tenure now, even after only 8 receptions with the team? It's been kind of awkward, kind of weird. And ultimately, how do you feel about this move?
Yeah, it was, kind of a long time coming, even though it was just this week where this started kind of rolling. But we kind of saw this was the ending play out of it, especially while your negotiation is out the window when a guy says, I want to go. And, and your head coach says, yeah, we're going to help find a trade partner. Everyone's like, I don't need to, trade you for this old man wide receiver. We'll just see when he hits the market and if he wants to come play for us. Or worst case scenario for him, someone claims him. And you're right. He's got to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Detroit Lions or one of these teams that, needs some depth at wide receiver and says, hey, we'll take a shot at him. And he may just retire and just say, I'm not going. And that could be the end of DeSean Jackson's career. I don't really see it playing out that way. And I think most people understand if we're going to put a claim in on him, we're going to want him to be here because look what he just did. He just passed on the best team in the NFL to say, I want more snaps. So I'm hoping that NFL GMs are a little bit smarter than that and don't get themselves into that situation. But, hopefully he does clear waivers and he can go be picked up by somebody. But again, you said it to all the, quote unquote haters out there that are a little bitter and sore about this. Like, guys, get over it, because either way, he gets with another team. He's got 2 shots at a ring. He will get a ring with the Los Angeles Rams if we go eventually win one. So he was a part of this franchise. He scored a touchdown this season at that high, at that peak when he landed that 60-something yard touchdown. My wheels were spinning in my head going, this is going to work out. And it was sad to see over the next couple of weeks that it didn't. That Sean McVay said in a press conference, we need to find more ways to get him the ball. And he didn't. And then when they did, it was these kind of awful bubble screens off to the right. And DeSean is not about trying to get hit by linebackers right now. And it was, just ducking out of bounds. So just didn't get enough shots down the field for him to make him happy here, which is a bummer, because this team is going places. And you're upset when you look at the roster that we currently have, especially after the trade deadline, and go, nah, I'm good. Get me out of here. This is my hometown, but let me out of here. So we'll see if our, neighbors here in Los Angeles, they could always use some help, and they've got a guy that can throw it a mile. So that could be a good fit if he wants to stay in LA, but we'll see how that plays out. Could be the end of his career. It could be jumping on with the Jaguars, or it could be something perfect where he lands in a place like with the Chargers, but going to be fun to find out. I've got no bitter, hard feelings towards him. It was just a little disappointing for a guy to come here, get paid the money. And of course I understand his frustration, but find a way to make it work. Find your role as a veteran. You always see that in the NBA, these guys jumping on a team late in their career and they're like, I just found my role. And that was, whether that's, 8 to 10 snaps for him here in LA, that just wasn't enough, but wish him best of luck, and hopefully he stays healthy and can go, entertain us with some of those long touchdowns that we know he can do.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate, right? Like you mentioned, this experiment worked. I mean, it worked out. It wasn't like he got hurt or he doesn't have the speed anymore. What he was brought to do, he's done. It's exactly that. The only problem is Van Jefferson, I think, just developed way too fast, faster than anyone expected. And you're not going to take a 24, 25-year-old player off the field in favor of a guy who's not going to be on your team in, 3 months. So Jefferson has been every bit as good, maybe going deep, working vertical. He's been a deep threat for this team. He can win short, intermediate, every kind of way. And he looks like a legitimately special player. So unfortunately for DeSean, I mean, these kind of things just kind of happen. Now, when you look at this roster, right, the Rams, they have those first 3 receivers. We know they have Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Van Jefferson. After that is where things kind of get murky now. DeSean gone, Tutu Atwell on IR. Really, the only guy that's left on the current roster is Ben Skoranek, a 7th-round pick, and sort of like a almost tight end. Like, the guy's big and not that fast. Do you think that they should maybe go out and get someone in free agency, maybe trade for someone? Some guys that I highlighted that I think would make sense because these guys do have special teams versatility. I'm looking at guys like Jaden Mickens, who was on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just a few weeks ago. Really good return man for them. DeAnthony Thomas, a guy who's done a lot of different stuff in terms of different teams returning for them as well. And then even a guy like Marvin Hall, who did play with Matthew Stafford in Detroit. I've mentioned him many times over the course of the offseason. Do you think they should maybe go out of house to go find that wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 guy? Or do you think they're just going to maybe elevate someone from practice squad and kind of go with what they have?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see what we have internally. And obviously those guys here internally are here for a reason. And this is kind of that next man up mentality, but at the same time, less need, right? To going back to how not only less need, but the scouts within our program can find talent on other teams that people let go. And there is a lot of talent out there. So I think I'd be good either way. We're talking wide receiver 4 here, so I don't expect this person to have a big impact. But again, like you said, injuries happen, things can happen. Jacob Harris, right? Like, he basically, in my eyes, is a big wide receiver. Maybe this is his opportunity. He was, kind of the Nelson Spruce of the preseason. If those folks remember that 2016 first year at the Coliseum and the whole Coliseum yelling Spruce. He's kind of that version of the preseason this year. So love to see him come up and work away into kind of one of those tight ends that we just flex out a little bit, that Travis Kelce-esque role where you're a tight end, but really we're just going to throw you the ball more. So internally, that's where I like. I mean, Ben Skoranek, he's got to prove it to me a little bit more to see the field. Obviously, I'm not making the calls here, but I'm pretty open to it. I think at the end of the day, our 1 through 3 is so solid if we can stay healthy that we just need that breather guy. Like, hey, go get your 10 snaps to kind of give those guys a breather and start to go a little more 12 personnel if we can go big at the tight end. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do, because they got to do something, because they just lost wide receiver 4 and 5 basically. So they got to fill it somewhere, and they've got to kind of double fill it. So if they can play special teams, all the better, because our special teams has been a little shaky. So that would definitely be an upgrade over some of these other guys. I think would probably be a seller for me.
Most definitely. I think that's kind of where they have to go about this position, addressing it, just finding a guy that can double down on special teams. You're not really going to use these guys on offense, presumably. Like you mentioned, they have different options in terms of Jacob Harris and guys like that as well. So in just a second here, we're going to dive into flipping the page, man. Rams, Titans, Sunday Night Football, Week 9. The Rams 7-1, Titans 6-2. This is going to be a good game. No Derrick Henry in this game, I understand, but still a lot at stake here for the Rams, and maybe even more so for the Titans, who are trying to make a deep run in the AFC. Before we get there, you guys can always follow us on Twitter at QBsMEP, at LA_Rambling at Locked On Rams, and on YouTube at Locked On Rams. We're about 50 subscribers away from 1,000 as of recording. Maybe by the time this is done, we'll be even closer. I don't know. You guys are just crazy, running it up like always. Love you guys for that. But before we get there, you guys, if you listen to this podcast, if you drive a car, if you commute, a lot of you guys do like to listen to us while you commute. You should go get a free app. It is entirely free. It is called Get Upside. You can get up to 25 cents cash back for every gallon of gas that you fill up with the promo code Touchdown. And for your first tank of gas, you can get up to 50 cents cash back. It's a lot of free money in your pocket. And if you're going to drive a car and fill up on gas, you may as well do it anyways. Now, they will pay you out anytime you want. You can cash out whenever you want, go straight to your bank account, through gift cards, PayPal, however you prefer. The app, once again, entirely free on the App Store or Google Play. It is called Get Upside, and the promo code is Touchdown. Thank you guys, as always, for always making us your first daily listen here at the Locked On Rams podcast. Now, Brad, we can dive into this matchup. I mean, I feel like a week ago, had we talked about this, it probably would have been very exciting and kind of terrifying. I mean, the Rams' run defense is not that good, and Derrick Henry is, I don't even know of what species, but it ain't human. That guy came from somewhere else. So would not have been fun to watch defenders bounce off this guy and probably go for like 180 yards and 3 touchdowns or whatever it might have been. But now it is a different Titans team, right? They lose their identity. Unfortunately for them, that's the biggest player, their best player, their most important player, the guy that kind of makes everything go on offense. But in general, and I guess we can begin here with the Rams offense versus the Titans defense. By the way, they are not good at all. When you look at this matchup, what are you kind of hoping for out of the Rams in this game? Is there anything that you kind of have circled in terms of, something that you want to see going into this game?
Yeah, I think it's kind of continuing off of our last game, right? Where we come out and we dropped 38 points in the first 3 quarters. Our offense was rolling. They went for it a couple times on 4th down. There was just a little miscues there, but we were inside the red zone, 75-yard drive after 75-yard drive. So just picking up off of that and moving it forward into this game, you mentioned the Titans D is not very good. And this matchup previous to the injury was really balanced out because of their run game and Tannehill getting hot and all those things that we're going to talk about in the next segment. But this is a huge advantage for the Rams, and that has been a leaky defense that has given up massive points to a lot of teams, including the Jets. And so this is a game where they just have to come in here with this, attitude. Everyone's been talking about the defense the last couple of days because of Von Miller, understandably. But let's not forget about the greatness that is on this other side. I saw your kind of hit on Locked On's trade deadline coverage that they did today. And you were out there saying, hey, beating the drum, saying Matt Stafford is the MVP. And you just hit those Locked On Cardinals guys with all the greatest stats. And I want to go find all those people in the YouTube comments from our Arizona game and drop that link in there and let them know that, hey, things moved on past that game, and Matt Stafford has been incredible. So I think it's just picking where we left off, not worrying about who's going to fill in number 4, who's going to fill in number 5 wide receiver, and focus on who is the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. And if we've got that guy on the roster and on the field, we're in pretty good shape. So I think really it's just getting back to the good stuff and moving that football, doing no huddle, converting in the red zone. I think that's going to be a good thing to kind of continue to kind of lay that foundation and bricks as we go. Is in the past couple of years, we've been kicking too many field goals, and McVay is not really going for it on 4th down. This time was a little different because I think he looked across the field and said, these guys can't stop us. If we'll get another 5 chances at this, let's just go for it. I hope he keeps that mentality and keeps going for it on 4th and whatever it is, and trying to play that aggressive style football, put up the points, put that in a position to where our defense is going, hey, they're down 14. We know they're going to throw the ball. Let's put the pressure on. Let's see what Von Miller can do in this first game and start to create turnovers. The next thing you know, we're up, a couple scores, and creating that pressure on them to do some things is where that game can get ugly quick. I think we're a better team than them. So offensively, go to work, boys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any specific in terms of what I want to see out of this game plan, right? This defense is not good. They're not good at run defense. They're not good at really rushing the passer. I mean, they got Harold Landry and Jeffrey Simmons and a couple guys like that, but in general, they don't really have any superstar studded pass rusher on that side of the ball. And their secondary is just bad. I mean, it is not good. You're looking at guys like Jackrabbit Jenkins, former Los Angeles Ram, former probably St. Louis Ram, actually, not Los Angeles Ram. Janoris Jenkins, that's what he used to be known as. Got guys like Breon Borders, who every week I'm watching this guy, he's got 2 or 3 pass interference calls that are just terrible. So, I mean, yeah, I want to see them run the ball a little bit, but you're talking about Sunday Night Football now. You talked about me making the case for Stafford for MVP. If there's any week to really try to run up that number, statistical outlook, not just that, but everyone's watching. It's Sunday Night Football again. The last time the Rams got kind of on this stage was maybe in Seattle on Thursday Night Football, but really week 1 on Sunday Night Football again versus the Chicago Bears. This is your opportunity. It's a weak secondary. We've seen the Rams passing game. They really haven't been stopped by anyone outside of themselves. And why not run it up? I mean, Cooper Kupp's not been stopped. This guy, I want to get him to 2,000 yards receiving. Yes. I know it's selfish. There's no point to it. They should just win the games, but I want him to get 2,000 yards receiving. Like, I want to see that happen.
It's like when you played Madden and you really had no other reason to throw other than the one guy that you were trying to like pat stats for the MVP. Yeah. And I'm kind of the same way. As we get near the goal line and they throw Robert Woods for a touchdown, my heart feels happy for Robert Woods because he's been struggling this year as far as where he's usually fits in this offense. But yeah, I'm screaming, go to Cooper Kupp, because let's rack those things up like I'm playing Madden. And sometimes it looks like Sean McVay is playing Madden out there with these guys.
It's honestly crazy. I know last week we talked about it again. He broke another record. I think he's the first player with 900 plus receiving yards and 10 plus receiving touchdowns through the first 8 weeks in a season.
That's a great season overall. Like, you'd be happy on any fantasy team. You'd be like, all right, you got me 10 touches, 10 tutties and 900 yards. That's a solid guy. And this is in, like you said, in those first handful of games is just insane.
I don't even have the numbers on hand, but I think that's like really close to being comparable to what he did last year. I think he might have like 990 yards or something and like 8 or 9 touchdowns. Like, he's already eclipsed his numbers in 8 weeks. 8 weeks. That's absurd. I mean, the guy's just absolutely unreal. And I think we're both expecting like, 25, at least 30, 35 points, something in that range where they continue this strong offensive output. I'm really not concerned about the offense here. Of course, anything can happen in these games. And they do have some good players too. Like I mentioned, Harold Landry, Jeffrey Simmons, Kevin Byard. I mean, some of these guys are really good, but in general, I just don't think they're going to be able to stop this offense. This offense is really not stopped this season, other than one game where they kind of stopped themselves and still had a decent output. But in just a second here, Brad, we're going to flip the page, look at the other side of the ball. Von Miller, man, how is this guy going to fare in his first game? Sunday Night Football, all the lights are on. Not just him, but this rest of this defense against a team that's kind of humming on offense recently in this Tennessee Titans. But before we get there, make sure to tune back in throughout the rest of this week and for tomorrow's episode when I'm joined by Tyler Rowland of Locked On Titans. We're going to break down this matchup once again in his perspective, my perspective, have a nice crossover episode for you guys. But before we get there, you guys know Brad and I like to bet. If you guys want to get in on that, you can go to betonline.ag. It's a new web interface for the start of the basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your #1 spot for all the basketball and football action this season. You can go head to their new website, updated desktop or mobile website, and sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From football to basketball, baseball in the postseason, NHL, boxing, UFC, anything you want. I mean, these guys got you covered right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Make sure to not wait and make sure to go take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. And you guys have heard me talk about the Built Bar here many times on this podcast. If you haven't tried a Built Bar by now, I'm telling you, you're missing out. They say it's a protein bar, but it does not taste like one. I've tried every single flavor they have. And when they say that, they really do mean it. And I've told you guys, I've tried a bunch of different bars. You guys should have to try them yourself so you can believe it as well. Most protein bars, chalky, waxy, just plain hard to take down. They just don't taste that good. A Built Bar is soft, covered in 100% real chocolate. And when you bite into it, you know you're getting something different. I mean, the bars, they're low in carbs, low in calories, low in sugar, low in fat, and they're high in protein. They have all the healthy benefits on top of just being really good and so many different flavors. This month, Built is coming out with more new limited time flavors every 3 to 4 days. So go check their website often. You don't want to miss out. Go to built.com and use the promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your next order. Use the promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. And thank you guys, as always, for making us your first daily listen here at the Locked On Rams pod. For your second daily listen, go check out the Peacock and Williamson NFL show. These guys will break down every major NFL news story in under 30 minutes, entirely free every single day, wherever you get your podcasts. Brad, now it's time for this defense. And yes, the Rams have a lot of good defenders, right? Every week we're looking at certain guys, Aaron Donald or Jalen Ramsey, or this guy or that guy. Maybe last week, Ernest Jones with his first start at inside linebacker has a tremendous game. I mean, the guy played great. And now they're getting certain guys back like Sebastian Joseph Day, presumably, among others. So yes, I know all those guys are exciting, but we're all kind of looking at one player, number 40. I'm sure you are as well.
Yeah, and I know how you feel about the 40, and saw that you kind of ruffled some feathers in Rams Nation by coming at 40. It wasn't that he didn't like the number 40. He just thinks it looks weird on Von Miller, people. Let's kind of wrap this around. Everyone was like, are you kidding me? That's crazy legs. How dare you? I was like, no, it's not.
He's not a fullback.
Yeah, exactly. Like crazy legs, hold on to it. And I love how that story kind of developed and that they gave him the nod and people are going back to their college unis and things like that. It's going to be weird. But I'm excited, man. If I can find a Von Miller over 0.5 sacks, I am hammering that because I just feel this, that's happening, right? That he's going to get, whether it's 8 to 18 snaps, and he is going to be so juiced playing on Sunday night, knowing that the announcers are talking about him and breaking this whole down and being in front of his brand new fan base, in front of, the whole nation. He is going to be juiced up and ready to play. And I think it's going to be a big game from that D-line because, again, there's no run game, so we know where they're kind of going with that. You talked about Von Miller coming in and being really good against the run anyway, so our run game support just got better. Theirs got worse. And they're going to start to become one-dimensional, as I mentioned in that last segment, once the Rams kind of put a couple points up on the board and start to kind of put that pressure of, hey, if you guys don't move this football, it's going to be a blowout really quick on national TV. So Tannehill playing some great ball right now, but really excited to see, as you mentioned, those guys back. And then Ernest Jones, like, talk about kind of a weight off his shoulders. The storylines are looking in front of him now. He had unarguably the best game of his career, right? Pick, tackle for loss, shared a sack. And now he's starting to sink in a little bit more. So I'm excited to see his development from game 1 to game 2. Can't expect him to just come out and get 2 picks and all this craziness, but just seeing him get better every game is going to be something that I think all of us are going to be keeping an eye on. But man, the storyline is up front. It's Mr. 40, and I can't wait to see his sack celebration when he gets one, because I have a feeling he's getting one at least. And that, D-line as a unit, I think, we used to do this game a lot, the over-under. I don't even know where I want to set this, but I think I'd set it at about 3.5, and I'd hammer that over.
I don't think I would disagree with you. It's going to be super, super dope to finally see this guy go onto the field with his new teammates. I mean, I'm looking at Von Miller every single snap. I don't care where he's lined up. I don't care if he's on the bench. I'm watching him. Like, my eyes are going to be peeled on number 40, which, yes, it is ugly. I'm sorry. He should have picked number 1. It's going to be available now.
Yes.
It is available now, and he's technically a linebacker, so he's allowed to wear number 1. Defensive linemen aren't, but whatever. He doesn't want to do it. It's fine. He wants to go to his college number 40, where he played at Texas A&M. That's okay too. And like you said, Elroy Hirsch's family did grant him access because the number was retired by the Rams. So very cool story. But in general, I'm watching Von Miller. I don't care if he's out there 5 snaps, 8 snaps, 12 or 15 or 35. This guy, like you said, he's going to be juiced. I mean, how are you not? This is so revitalizing for a guy who's coming from Denver, watching Teddy Bridgewater throw 3-yard passes into the floor, to watching Matthew Stafford rip it 75 yards downfield to Van Jefferson. Like, it cannot get better. I mean, that is incredible. And the one matchup that I have to watch, you mentioned a bunch of the guys, Jalen Ramsey, AJ Brown, maybe even Julio Jones. I don't know if he's going to play in this game. He didn't play last week, and his season's just been an absolute nightmare. But when he's out there, he's Julio Jones. Like, let's not forget about it. I'm watching Jalen Ramsey versus one or both of these guys. And if Darius Williams is playing both of these guys versus both of those guys, that is where this game is really going to be like, get your popcorn, because it's about to go down. AJ Brown finally getting on track this season. The guy's been balling the last like 3 weeks. Jalen Ramsey, I think we all know who he is as a player. He's not going to back down from nobody. And then again, Julio Jones may be on the field. Darius Williams may be on the field. Either way, whether or not those guys suit up, I'm watching. I mean, this is going to be a great matchup. It's superstars versus superstars.
Darius Williams is going to be another one that you're going to want to keep an eye on, because what is he like coming back? Again, we talk about snap count for Von Miller. What's D. Will's snap count? How's that going to go? Because that was a big loss when he left. And then how healthy is it? Obviously, he's coming off the IR, but it's just that game condition getting back. And you're right, not just jumping into an NFL game, which sounds hard enough, but then they're like, oh, just go guard Julio or AJ Brown, like just literally a beast out there. The size difference is remarkable. And then they have the same speed. So that's going to be another one as we kind of glide over this, Sebastian Joseph Day coming back. So there's so many storylines in this game that make it so fun. And then of course, obviously Derrick Henry not there. How does the Titans adapt to this? Well, how many snaps is Adrian Peterson getting, who just signed with them? Prop game on this, my head is going crazy right now. You could build some crazy props for this, and it's going to be a fun one to watch.
I've been close on some props. I don't know how comfortable I feel this week. Maybe stick with just the Rams, but hopefully we get some wins this week. Before we get there, though, we're going to need your prediction, my friend. All right. We're going back to the schedule breakdown series here. I'm looking at it off to my left, and week 9, Brad, W, Sosa, W. We both had W's for this game, and we both are riding a 4-game W streak into this one. So I'm going to share my prediction tomorrow on the crossover episode. But as we usually do, my friend, the floor is yours. I want to hear what you got.
Yeah, I think Derrick Henry, I think I'm staying in that W column. I think we're just a better talented team, especially with the recent addition, especially with Matt Stafford just tearing up these teams that he should have been tearing up. Minus that Lions game was a little sketchy at times, but it's got to be a W. I just don't think the Titans are ready to take that next step in kind of being one of those elite teams. I mean, not to say you can't change within a season. They lost the Jets a handful of games ago, but then came out and beat the Chiefs and beat the Bills and did some really things that kind of opened our eyes and said, wow, these guys are legit. They've done it at home. They've done it on the road. So not to say they can't come out and handle this, but that's a lot to take a massive core piece of your offense and remove him and then come in on the road in a team that is, incredibly, incredibly good. One of the best in the NFL, arguably top 3, if not the best. Locked On podcast power rankings has them at number 1. So I trust that source, and I believe in that. So I just don't think it's going to be a matchup. I really, again, I see this one. Maybe every one of my predictions, I just say it's Rams going away, but I think it's a Rams going away type of situation. I think they're going to get stuck to be one-dimensional. I think the Rams are going to get ahead early. I think they're going to have probably a 10-point lead at halftime, and the Titans are going to get kind of go out there reaching for things. And when that happens against this defense with Jalen Ramsey and getting D. Will back, that means turnovers. That means good field position for a dangerous offense. I see this thing as a 10+, 14+ victory again. And I think it's going to be one of those moments where we come out of this feeling great, and the nation is going to go, well, they did have Derrick Henry. So, I mean, what did that really mean? And we're just going to have to keep proving people wrong. But that's what I love about this team. It's just stack another chip on the shoulder, go take out the next opponent and build off of it. But I think it's a big win for the Rams, and I'm sticking to my prediction with the dub. And let's move to 8-1.
Oh, man, I would have loved to have seen Derrick Henry out there, man. Imagine the Rams against this 6-2 team that you mentioned knocked off some good teams. They're suddenly now looked like, one of the best teams in the AFC, and the Rams go out there and beat them by 14 or something. That would have been just so nice to see.
And they need that check. They need that check of like, how good are we against the run? Because you're right, it hasn't been great lately. So we may need to get, kicked in the tail a little bit in the run game, so we can kind of, you always say that loss kind of opens your eyes a little bit, but we needed that challenge to kind of set the bar on where we're at. And again, we came off these 3 weeks of playing kind of the bottom of the barrel, and this was kind of felt like the top of the barrel, but all of a sudden without their star, we'll see where they kind of level out over the next couple of weeks. But you're right, it's a bummer. And I know the Titans fans here, as I live in Tennessee, it was a gut punch to everybody, because not only was he the leader of the team, the offense of the team, but just kind of seemed to be the heart and pulse of the city got behind that guy, and they just feel deflated over here. So it'll be curious to see how they bounce back. There's a lot of crazy storylines going in the NFL where teams have to either come together or fall apart. This is one of them, and we'll see what team shows up on Sunday. But man, tune me in, sign me up, just plug it right into my veins. I'm ready for it.
If there's an engine to a team, Derrick Henry is that. Like,
Yes.
There is no discussion there. This one felt like one of those opportunities where the Rams just beat up on the Bucs. You know, it felt like that opportunity for the Rams here where they could go in front of everyone on Sunday Night Football and just beat up on a playoff contender, a legitimate team. But either way, the Rams aren't going to feel bad about getting to 8-1 if they can. Your prediction says they will. My prediction tomorrow, find out. Well, I think maybe I could tease it. It might be 8-1 as well. I don't know. We'll see. But I think we both feel comfortable with where the Rams are at now. They just got a little bit, maybe a lot of bit better with Von Miller. So going to be fun. There's a lot of storylines to watch. My man, Brad, thank you as always for joining us. You guys, thank you for always making us your first daily listen here at the Locked On Rams podcast. Make sure to tune back tomorrow to hear my prediction, as well as our crossover episode with Tyler Rowland, host of the Locked On Titans podcast. We're going to find out more about that team from his perspective. Just a reminder, you guys can come connect with us on Twitter at QB's MEP, at LA_Rambling Bear, and at Locked On Rams, and on YouTube at Locked On Rams. Please subscribe or follow to get our latest episodes, content, breaking news, and a whole lot more.